So we've talked a little bit about how you would handle laws that you disagree with, maybe you interpret to be unconstitutional. With the new justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, there's a very real possibility that Roe v. Wade, the case that legalized abortion, could be overturned, which would send that back to the states, and the states would have to decide what to do with abortion. Phil, are we starting with you this time, or George?
This is George. Start with George.
So if this comes back to the states, you've said you will be a pro-life governor. You support limits on abortion. Do you support outlawing abortion? What would you do if the legislature said, you know what, no limits at all, no outlawing, we're going to keep things the way it is? Do you enforce that?
Absolutely, you do. I mean, listen, I'm Catholic, and by virtue of that, I'm pro-life. But I think what I've proven, too, even with my time in as district attorney, I don't intend to be the Catholic Attorney General for the state of Colorado. I intend to be the Attorney General for the state of Colorado, and I am wedded to the process that we have to govern ourselves. And to the extent that we vote to have a certain law that applies to the availability of abortions, and we make that decision, I'm going to uphold and defend that decision. I am not going to cherry pick one law over another as long as it is lawful and constitutional. I should say this, though. I do not anticipate Roe versus Wade being overturned. I don't know anybody that does, except fearmongers. Maybe over decades it might be death by 1,000 cuts, but I don't expect Roe versus Wade to be overturned because it is the law of the land, and I support the law of the land.
Would you encourage the legislature to outlaw abortion?
No, frankly, I don't think that's the Colorado way either. I think that there ought to be some limits on it. I don't think anybody I know in my life would support a last minute, last day, last week, last month abortion unless it resulted in saving the life of the mother. I don't think that Colorado would go all pro-life, and I certainly don't think Colorado would say abortion on demand at any time.
So what if they impose some limits on abortion?
This is a crucial issue. Colorado's going to pick the lawyer that represents the people of Colorado. That lawyer will have a choice to make when Roe versus Wade is reconsidered. Make no mistake, Justice Anthony Kennedy was the 5th vote protecting Roe versus Wade. He's gone and replaced by someone where there's lots of reasons to believe would be a vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. We have to ask ourselves, do we want our lawyer arguing for reproductive rights, arguing to preserve Roe versus Wade? You've noted George's prior statements on this, including questionnaires he's publicly submitted saying Roe versus Wade should be overturned. When we hire a lawyer to represent us, know what's at stake. We've actually got a website comparing positions between myself and George, including on reproductive rights. It's philforcolorado.com/contrast. This is a big area of contrast. I want to preserve Roe versus Wade. I believe this choice is one for women to make. And you're right, when George was running for governor, he was outspoken on this very issue and taking endorsements from folks like Ted Nugent. I don't believe once he becomes Attorney General, he is going to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to exercise my discretion, because it will be his discretion to pick whether Colorado is for preserving Roe versus Wade or overturning it.
And it could be death by 1,000 cuts with abortion, even if they don't overturn it.
Sure, but look, let's be honest. If Roe versus Wade is overturned, that doesn't make abortion illegal. Colorado wasn't an anti-abortion state before Roe versus Wade. I don't expect it to be afterwards. I'm anxious to see what other bag of negativity that my opponent has brought with him to the rest of the debate. But listen, I'm not here campaigning on taking away a woman's right to choose. I'm not here campaigning on trying to overturn Roe versus Wade. But it sounds like, based on your question and that non-answer, that Phil supports an abortion even up to the last possible minute of birth. I don't think that's the Colorado way, and I wouldn't support that.
That's not what I said. I said I'm for preserving Roe versus Wade. When I asked George directly this question, this is an important responsibility of the AG to argue on behalf of the people of Colorado about what we believe our rights are. George said he'd have to think about what he would do. I don't have to think about this. I believe in protecting reproductive rights and protecting Roe versus Wade.
Hang on. The question that was posed to me at Club 20 was, if there was a case that had the potential to turn over Roe versus Wade, would you file an amicus? And like any responsible attorney who's actually practiced law and not just taught it, I would want to see what the legal arguments were. I'd want the opportunity to look at the pleadings. I'd like an opportunity to research the cases. There is no knee-jerk gut reaction to any issue in the law, and that's a real attorney giving you that answer.
And I'm a real attorney who's worked on constitutional law, and I know constitutional law, which is why I don't have to think about what I would do. I know what I would do. I'd fight to preserve Roe versus Wade.